Part 1. The Rebirth and Shadow. They say every man is born twice. The first time is when he enters the world. The second is when he finally sees what the world truly is. Most never reach that second birth. They live blind, softened by illusions, lulled into obedience by comforts that were never meant for their protection. But the few who awaken discover a truth that society hides with violent desperation. Power is never given, power is taken, and anyone who waits for permission will die waiting. This is the forbidden truth. The truth whispered only among the fallen, the exiled, the men stripped bare until all that remains is will. Tupac learned it in a concrete cage, surrounded by silence that felt alive. Machiavelli learned it under the weight of shackles and accusations, condemned by the same government he once served. Both men were tossed into darkness by systems that feared the sharpness of their minds. Both emerged with eyes that could finally see. Society tells you that suffering humbles a man, but it does something far more dangerous. It clarifies him. When Tupac read The Prince in that cell, he did not read it as a scholar. He read it as a wounded animal learning why the hunters always seemed to know his name. He saw himself not in the cruelty the world accused Machiavelli of writing, but in the strategy he was revealing. A strategy for the cornered. A strategy for those born outside the gates of power. A wise man does at once what a fool does at last. Machiavelli wrote it centuries before Tupac breathed those same instincts into music. It was not philosophy, it was survival. And the men who survive are the men who understand that hesitation is a luxury the hunted do not have. Tupac had lived that long before he held the book. Every verse, every confrontation, every risk he charged into was not chaos. It was an attack on destiny before destiny could attack him first. Yet here lies the paradox. The world calls a man reckless only when he moves faster than their understanding. They said Tupac was impulsive. They said Machiavelli was manipulative. But both were simply ahead of their enemies. Society despises the man who sees too clearly because he becomes unpredictable. And nothing terrifies the comfortable more than the unpredictable. This is why Tupac did not simply adopt the name Machiavelli. He weaponized it. He understood what Machiavelli understood. Fear lasts longer than love. It echoes. It stains memory. It bends perception long after the body disappears. Tupac knew love could be taken from him. Fans turn, friends vanish, even family fractures under pressure. But fear, when sculpted with purpose, becomes a shadow that follows a man long after he steps out of the light. The world believed Tupac was performing anger. They never realized it was architecture. Every glare was a fortress. Every silence a blade. Every explosion of fury a signal that he would not be controlled. The man who commands with presence does not need permission to be obeyed. Machiavelli warned that he who desires obedience must first understand command. Tupac understood command instinctively. He knew his voice carried weight even when he whispered. He knew his stillness could shake a room more violently than another man's screaming. Silence is your weapon. Most men misunderstand silence. They think it is absence, emptiness, weakness. But silence in the hands of the powerful becomes presence amplified. It becomes the invisible force that compels others to fill the void with their own fear. Tupac used silence like a shadow that walked ahead of him. Machiavelli used it like a shield that hid his intentions until the precise instant they became unavoidable. And here is the deeper truth. Power grows faster in secrecy than in attention. The world teaches you to shine, to be visible, to announce your ambitions as if applause grants legitimacy. But every strategist knows visibility is a cage. When they see you, they anticipate you. When they anticipate you, they contain you. Tupac understood this when he stepped out of prison no longer a man, but a myth forming. Machiavelli was not a name. It was a mask forged to control perception. Masks are the oldest currency of power. Machiavelli wrote that men are so simple that he who deceives will always find someone willing to be deceived. Tupac knew this long before he could articulate it. Loyalty in the streets was fragile. Loyalty in the industry was an illusion. Faces changed with opportunity. Words bent with necessity. Promises evaporated under pressure. The world rewards the man who can shift forms without losing control of himself. That is why Tupac became more than one man. The poet, the soldier, the prophet, the villain, the saint. None of them were lies. All of them were fragments. And fragments are harder to kill. The moment you understand this, everything changes. You stop trying to be understood. You stop searching for fairness. You stop explaining your heart to those who only want access, not truth. You learn what Machiavelli tried to teach every man who rises from the shadows. The world does not fear the one who has nothing to hide. It fears the one who hides because he has too much to reveal. This is the higher perspective. Power is the control of perception. Strength is the ability to vanish when they expect you to stand. Sovereignty is the discipline to remain silent when your enemies beg you to react. Tupac mastered this. Machiavelli mastered this. The men who shape history are the ones who learned that visibility is a weakness disguised as validation. And here is the warning. If this unsettles you, it means you were never prepared for power. If it fascinates you, it means power has already begun shaping you. If you feel a shift inside yourself, even a small one, then you already know. This world was not built for gentle men. It was built for the men who understand the cost of being unprepared. Part 2. The masks that rule the room. There is a moment in every powerful man's life when he realizes the world is nothing but a stage. And every player wears a mask sculpted by necessity. This is where most men break. They want the world to be honest. They want faces to match intentions. They want loyalty to mean something more than survival. But the world Machiavelli described and Tupac lived in does not reward purity. It rewards precision. Those who cannot shift identities when the moment demands it become casualties of men who can. People think deception is corruption. They think masks are cowardice. Only the naive believe that. Machiavelli wrote that men are so simple and so bound to their immediate needs that anyone who manipulates appearances will always find an audience willing to be fooled. Tupac saw this long before literature gave it language. The streets taught him that every smile hides a calculation. The industry taught him that every handshake carries a price. Fame taught him that the louder people cheer, the faster they turn when the wind changes direction. And this is the paradox that governs power. The one who refuses to wear a mask becomes the easiest to destroy. The one who chooses his mask becomes impossible to predict. Tupac's masks were not lies. They were armors. The wounded poet who confessed his truth through sorrow. The lion who roared through anger. The prophet who warned of systems that wanted him silent. The villain the media created. The myth he intentionally became. Each one a different weapon, used with the precision of a strategist sharpening blades in the dark. Yet the deeper truth lies elsewhere. A mask does not hide a man. It reveals the parts of him that the world is not worthy of seeing fully. Tupac understood this because Machiavelli taught him a principle too dangerous for the uninitiated. The promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present. This was not an endorsement of betrayal. It was clarity. Loyalty is not a virtue in environments built on survival. Loyalty is a shadow that shifts with the sun. The wise man accepts this and adapts. The fool collapses under the weight of expectations that reality never promised to honor. This is why Tupac's transformation after prison was so misunderstood. People assumed anger had consumed him. They assumed chaos had become his compass. They never realized they were watching strategy unfold. Every sudden shift, every alliance, every enemy, every silence, every explosion, all of it mirrored Machiavelli's lessons on deception, perception, and controlled unpredictability. Tupac was not spiraling. He was ascending. The moment he aligned with death row was the moment he stepped fully into the Machiavellian theater. To the world, he had become a storm. Loud, violent, uncontrollable. But storms distract. Storms mislead. Storms create fear so that the man inside the thunder can move without being seen. Hit 'em up was not rage. It was dominance crafted with the precision of a commander drawing territorial lines. When Tupac declared war, he was not fighting for ego. He was reinforcing a truth Machiavelli wrote centuries before. Never attempt to win by force what can be won by deception. But if force is required to signal the boundaries of your power, use it so decisively that no one misinterprets your intent. Still, Tupac never relied on rage alone. Rage is a torch. It burns bright but short. Strategy is a lantern. It glows even in silence. And this is where the lion and the fox converge. Machiavelli said a prince must be both. Because the lion protects with fear while the fox survives with intelligence. Tupac lived inside that duality. His lion made him fearless. His fox made him untouchable. And the world never realized both creatures were staring at them from the same pair of eyes. But here is where the narrative deepens. Most men who master masks lose themselves inside the roles. They forget who they were before the world demanded an identity. Tupac did the opposite. By embracing his masks, he freed the core of himself. The poet within him did not die when the warrior emerged. The visionary did not vanish when the outcast spoke. The strategist did not disappear when the myth took shape. He allowed each part of himself to speak when needed, like a commander sending different soldiers to different battles. That is how a man becomes more than human. That is how he becomes a legend. Yet the moment you notice this, everything changes. You start to see the masks around you. The colleague who smiles only to survive another day. The friend who shifts behavior when opportunity enters the room. The rival who pretends respect because it buys time. Most people wear masks to hide weakness. Powerful men wear masks to redirect power. This is the difference between prey and predator, between follower and ruler, between the man who reacts to life and the man who dictates its tempo. And in this higher perspective, something becomes painfully clear. The world is built on perception, not truth, not morality, not fairness. Perception. He who controls perception controls outcome. He who controls outcome controls legacy. Tupac understood this so deeply that he began scripting how the world would remember him long before the world understood what he was doing. His silence became prophecy. His rage became signal. His vulnerability became weapon. His rebirth as Machiavelli became blueprint. Observe what this means. When a man no longer fears misunderstanding, he becomes impossible to manipulate. When a man no longer depends on applause, he becomes immune to its absence. When a man begins to design the story others tell about him, he becomes sovereign. That is the power Machiavelli whispered to those who lived on the edges of society. And that is the power Tupac carried into every room, every interview, every stage, every lyric. This is why silence becomes so dangerous. It is the one mask no one knows how to interpret. Silence does not reveal intention. Silence forces others to reveal theirs. Silence creates a vacuum that fear rushes to fill. Tupac used silence with the precision of a blade. Long pauses, cold stares, statements cut short, questions unanswered. It was never hesitation. It was domination. Because silence removes noise. And without noise, a man's true nature spills out. Machiavelli would have recognized Tupac immediately. Not as a ruler in the traditional sense, but as the kind of man the prince was written for. A man clawing upward through fire. A man surrounded by wolves and whisperers. A man who must create his own armor because the world offers him none. A man whose enemies multiply not because he seeks conflict, but because he refuses to kneel. And here is the final truth of this chapter. If you understand Tupac's masks, you begin to understand your own. If you understand Machiavelli's warnings, you begin to understand the architecture of every room you walk into. The world does not reward authenticity. It rewards controlled authenticity. It rewards those who know when to reveal truth and when to weaponize mystery. It rewards those who understand that identity is not fixed. It is sculpted. If this unsettles you, it is because you still believe the world is kinder than it is. If it sharpens something inside you, then you are closer to awakening than you think. Part 3. The men who outlive themselves. There comes a point when power no longer concerns the moment. The moment is temporary. The applause fades. The enemies rotate. The alliances dissolve. What remains is something colder, deeper, older than ambition. It is legacy. The one throne no man can steal from another. Most men do not understand legacy. They think it is built through achievement, through trophies, through titles, through noise. But Machiavelli revealed the truth long before kings realized it. Power is not measured by what a man accomplishes while he breathes. Power is measured by what refuses to die after he is gone. Tupac understood that in a way that unsettles even the powerful. They can kill the body, but never the idea. The man who seeks survival plays for today. The man who seeks victory plays for tomorrow. The man who seeks permanence plays for eternity. When Tupac re-emerged as Machiavelli, he was not reinventing himself. He was beginning the process of becoming untouchable. A man defined by the present can be destroyed by the present. A man defined by memory becomes immune to time. When he stepped into the persona of Machiavelli, he was stepping out of mortality. He was entering myth, and myth is the strongest fortress a man can build. But here is the paradox. To become eternal, a man must first accept his own death. The old Tupac, the one who loved too openly, trusted too easily, believed too deeply in the humanity of others, could never have survived the war he was destined to fight. That version died in a prison cell. The one who stepped out was not hardened. He was refined. Fire does not destroy gold. It purifies it. Machiavelli wrote that the lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. The complete ruler must be both. Tupac's lion gave him fearlessness. His fox gave him foresight. But what the world never understood is that he used both not just for battles of the present, but for battles he would not live to witness. The Don Illuminati album was not merely art. It was architecture. Every lyric was a stone placed carefully in the monument of the man he wanted to become after death. He spoke of fate as if it were already written. He spoke of resurrection as if it were routine. He spoke of betrayal with an eerie calm, as if he had already accepted that no man walks through the world without stepping on the envy of others. He blurred the line between prophecy and preparation, and in that blur, he built something men fear more than death: a legend. The moment you see this clearly, everything slows down. You begin to understand why Machiavelli said that a prince who takes control of a city accustomed to freedom must either destroy it fully or be destroyed by it. The world Tupac lived in was not built to elevate men like him. It was built to crush them. He knew that to survive in it, he had to become something it could not categorize, something it could not contain, something it could not silence. He turned himself into a message. And that message did not end when he did. Theories still whisper about escape, about staged disappearances, about a final act so theatrical that only a strategist like Machiavelli could have scripted it. But theories do not matter. What matters is the function they serve. They keep him alive. They keep him circulating through culture like a ghost refusing to fade. They keep him in the conversations of men who hunger for strength. Memory is a weapon. Tupac sharpened it before he died. But there is a deeper truth beneath this. Most men fear being forgotten. They cling to relevance with desperation, begging the world to keep watching. Tupac did not beg. He understood what Machiavelli whispered through the centuries. The wise man does not rely on chance. He makes it. Tupac constructed the architecture of his memory with ruthless intention. He controlled the narrative of his life by controlling the narrative of his death. This is what separates the forgotten from the unforgettable. Forgotten men chase recognition. Unforgettable men sculpt it. Forgotten men hope their story will be told. Unforgettable men design the story word by word, mask by mask, silence by silence, until even their enemies are forced to repeat it. Look carefully and you will see it. Every generation finds Tupac again. Even those born decades after he left the world. They discover his interviews as if recorded yesterday. They study his words as if he were speaking directly to them. They listen to his warnings as if he had seen their time with impossible accuracy. That is not coincidence. That is strategy. It is the strategy Machiavelli wrote for survivors who refuse to die. Legacy is the final battlefield. And Tupac fought for it long before bullets ever touched him. But here is where the monologue tightens. Not every man is meant to be eternal. Eternity demands sacrifice. It demands a level of self-awareness so sharp it cuts through the illusions that comfort ordinary men. It demands the willingness to become both admired and feared. It demands the discipline to walk alone. The world does not remember men who seek approval. It remembers men who force recognition through presence, conviction, and an unshakable refusal to kneel. Tupac's power was not the power of a celebrity. It was the power of a man who understood consequence. He knew his voice was dangerous. He knew his ideas made him a threat. He knew the systems around him would rather silence him than face what he revealed. And still he spoke. Still he created. Still he confronted. Because a man who fears truth becomes a servant. A man who wields truth becomes a ruler. This brings the reflection to you. The viewer, the listener, the one standing at the threshold between who you are and who you could become. You are surrounded by systems that demand silence. You are surrounded by faces that shift with opportunity. You are surrounded by a world that rewards obedience and punishes clarity. If you move through life without strategy, You will be eaten by those who live behind masks sharper than knives. If you move without understanding power, you will become a stepping stone for men who understand it deeply. But if you evolve, if you sharpen your perception, if you learn to move like the fox and strike like the lion, if you learn to wield silence like a weapon and memory like a fortress, then you step into the lineage of men like Machiavelli and Tupac. Men who were not born powerful, but who forged power through suffering, clarity, and reinvention. And here is the final line. If this unsettles you, it means you sensed the truth long before hearing it. If it awakens something in you, then you already know the path you must walk. Because in the end, power passes from the hands of the visible to the hands of the prepared. And the prepared are always watching from the shadows.